Well, Katie, hey, thank you for hopping on to speak to us about Festival Formula, your company that helps out short film filmmakers out there. So, first of all, for those people who don't know, what exactly is Festival Formula?
So, we are a consultancy company that essentially helps filmmakers navigate the worldwide circuit with their short film. So, once a filmmaker's made their piece of work, they want to share it with an audience, they want to get some accolades, they want to get the validation that they've made a great film. So, what we're here to do is kind of watch their film, figure out the strengths, figure out the audiences that we can kind of match make them with on the festival circuit and essentially nudge them in the right direction by saying, yeah, this festival really likes your kind of film, or this festival focuses on debut filmmakers or Black or Asian directors or mental health narratives. So we're kind of dialing down and making sure that they're submitting it to the best suited places.
Now, as a consultancy, company, why do filmmakers need this type of a consultant to navigate, film festivals? Usually, from what I understand, filmmakers just, they just look, see, oh, I want to be in this film festival. I'll just apply.
Yeah, it's a very kind of epic landscape, the festival side of things. So I've been doing this 20 years now, and we have so many more festivals out there. They're kind of popping up all over the place. So what we offer filmmakers is the insight as to like what is a good festival, which ones to avoid, which ones kind of make sense for them, and also kind of can match what they're expecting from a festival experience. So some filmmakers might want to be going to industry heavy ones where there's networking, you can meet industry professionals. And some of them are looking to travel with their film, but they're like, I've never been to this territory before. So, they need festivals there. Essentially, what we give filmmakers is that we give them their time back because it is quite a hefty job researching all these festivals, making sure that their film is eligible. So filmmakers are generally very time poor because they just get overwhelmed by how many festivals there are. And what we can do is we can kind of cut through all the noise and kind of say, ignore these, look at these ones. This is the order kind of, to do it in that makes sense for you in your film. And there's always like new festivals to discover, but part of our job is managing expectations. So we're here to kind of say, you've made a great film. It's not for this level of festival. That's not saying it's bad. It's just not their flavor. But let's find those festivals that make more sense for you in your project that you've got right now.
So does your company develop sort of like a plan? Just correct me if I'm wrong, develop a plan on which festivals to actually submit, but does that actually improve the chances of these filmmakers to get into these festivals, or is that something entirely different?
I think most of it is the research. So, when we're putting together a strategy, it's very bespoke to the film and the filmmaker. So, what we're trying to stop filmmakers from doing is just grabbing the Oscar list and the BAFTA list and kind of submitting like crazy to them. They are mostly great festivals, but they're not necessarily best suited for every film. So, what we're here to do is kind of say, what are the assets of your film? Where can we find those festivals that are looking for this story or looking for this type of filmmaker? And it is kind of in an order that makes sense for the film and where the film is on the journey. So we kind of give filmmakers the confidence and actually the kind of you know the guide, essentially the map of where to submit their film, which can in turn increase potential of selection because they're submitting to best suited places rather than just the kind of the very big festivals that mean a lot to filmmakers but perhaps not really right for their project at that particular point in their career. So we're trying to cut through the noise but also just be an outside pair of eyes. Sometimes when we're looking at a film, it's the first time someone outside of the creative team has seen it. And then what we can do with our experience and insight is go, yeah, this is something that this festival will love. This festival will really like. That festival has an entire remit that you're perfect for. And just give filmmakers the confidence that they're spending their budget in the right places.
Now, one of the things that a lot of filmmakers, especially for short films, is they just use the strategy of, basically, spray and pray that you
Yeah.
get into film festivals. And you mentioned before there are bad film festivals out there, but isn't any publicity good publicity?
Oh, it's kind of dependent. Like I think on a in a general sense, possibly, but when filmmakers spent a lot of time and effort and money, blood, sweat, and tears, and everything else on their film, we're always trying to kind of encourage filmmakers to be really conscious of where they're submitting and where they're screening. Because whenever you get selected, that creates a digital timestamp, essentially. Like if somebody Googles your film, which film programmers and festival directors do, they kind of want to see that you've been aware of what festivals are good for you and your film. I think I'm always sad when a filmmaker has a bad festival experience because sometimes it is just because it's not a great run festival. Other times it can actually be down to the filmmaker's expectations. Like they've been to one festival and been treated very differently. They go to another one, they expect the same. So bad press is not necessarily always good. I think it's dependent on how kind of severe it can be. But just researching and making sure that those festivals are decent and legit is always the best place to start.
Now, define a bad festival, to these filmmakers. I mean, what kind of festivals that they should definitely avoid? Are there really bad festivals out there?
Yeah, so I mean, after doing this 20 years, there's only ever been an increase in festivals all over the world. And back kind of 10, 15 years ago, it was very easy to spot what we would call a fraudulent festival. They would take money for submissions, but they just wouldn't take place. Now we kind of are in an age where we have what we call pseudo festivals. So they do take place in some vicinity, but they are very, very kind of basic. So, it will be a festival that kind of has a city name in their title. So it kind of captures people's eyes. But then they'll rent like a conference room in a hotel on the outskirts of town. And, there'll be place for an audience to be, but there just won't be an audience. So a filmmaker can't turn around and say, hey, this festival didn't take place. They'll be like, well, it did. We just didn't get an audience. So nobody really wins apart from that film festival making a lot of money off of filmmakers' dreams. But sometimes a bad festival is just a very poorly run one, that it is perhaps charging a nominal amount just so they can kind of get the fees in, but the festival experience for a filmmaker might be subpar. The other thing for us that we're very, very conscious about is there has been an increase in online only festivals, especially kind of after the pandemic and during the pandemic. And what we are always trying to say to filmmakers is, whilst it is a tediously slow process, kind of stepping onto a competitive festival circuit, there is a kudos attached to being selected for a yearly edition festival because you are the best of that year's submissions. Whereas these monthly online events, they don't take place as a physical event. So they are sometimes just screened within the jury and then they just award films. And it doesn't really have any kudos, doesn't have any kind of gravitas to it. But also, a lot of these festivals charge you to kind of like, pay for the trophy that you've won, and it can be an extortionate amount. And we're always trying to say to filmmakers, have pride in your work, know where you are submitting because it is your hard earned cash. And you want every selection that you get to mean something and to translate to other people in the industry. So some of these festivals that are maybe kind of just online only, especially kind of monthly specific online only festivals, they kind of sucker filmmakers in because they're looking for that validation. Perhaps they're quite cheap or they've been given a discount code, but at the end of the day it doesn't really mean much, and a lot of filmmakers realize that but too late once they've got the selection, and they suddenly go, oh, I don't really want to promote this because it's not a real festival per se. So bad is kind of, it's a very wide barometer. There's, it can be a bad festival experience or just a really poorly run festival or a festival that just isn't really a traditional festival. So lots of different variables there.
So your company Festival Formula, because it's been around for 20 years, you have ears in the industry and you have identified which is good, which is bad, and which is perfect for these filmmakers.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for 20 years as a strategist. The company is 10 years old. And we have just amassed a lot of experience from talking to filmmakers and then talking to clients that we send to festivals, but also we attend as many festivals as we can ourselves. Now, obviously, it's a very busy calendar year, so we have to kind of pick and choose. But that's why we're always kind of talking to programmers at festivals, asking, like, what are you missing? What can you give a filmmaker if they attended? And that's where we can filter it back. So part of our job is managing expectations for filmmakers, but also if a festival selects a film and we've been there, we can give that insight and say, oh, if you go, you'll have an amazing time. They can give you some accommodation, they can pick you up from the airport, they'll put on a filmmaker lounge, they'll kind of feed you a couple of nights. Or it might be that we can then filter back from a filmmaker who has attended somewhere we haven't, and kind of we can garner that knowledge and kind of go, oh, brilliant, that filmmaker's just got in there. Actually, our other client that's attended said, definitely check out this location, definitely talk to this person. So a lot of it is kind of capturing information, and filmmakers are some of the most honest people you will meet. So, you can kind of get a lot of information, both good and bad, that you can then kind of like filter out and kind of say to a filmmaker, like, yeah, definitely get on the plane and go.
For a lot of filmmakers, especially short film filmmakers, they tend to be much more independent, limited budget. So in this case, how do they work with you and not break their budget?
So we try and make our prices as accessible as we can, but we realize that independently, everyone's budget is going to be very, very different. So what we kind of can offer is different packages, and that depends on how much that you want somebody else to handle the admin and do the submissions, or if you just literally want the roadmap of where to submit and when. So we kind of have like an entry point level. We have a little bit more of a bolstered one where get more support and more coverage, and then we get like the full top one, which is everything, which is a bit more expensive. But even if people don't want to use our services, we always recommend people send us their films anyway, because we view everything for free and we give feedback for free. So that can sometimes just give a filmmaker a little bit of insight as to where, perhaps they haven't discovered some festivals, or perhaps we highlight something that they hadn't realized in their script, which happens a lot, that we can actually nudge them in another direction. So we're here to help as much as we can with whatever budget people have, even if it is literally, can you watch my film and tell me if it's good?
For the process to work with Festival Forum, because I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong. You're what, in the Great Britain area,
Yes, yeah.
and but you consult worldwide for and anywhere around the world. So let's say a filmmaker does want to contact you using the services of Festival Formula. What is this process going to be like? Do they just email you? Is there a form to fill out? Do they go on a phone, or they have to fly to Great Britain to meet you? Which probably for a lot of filmmakers, probably that may or may not happen. I mean,
Yeah.
what is that process?
It's really simple. So we have a contact us page on our website, which is where we ask you for a little bit of information about the film. We also ask if you've done any previous submissions, just so we can be able to gauge how far you are in your process. And we are very honest. If we don't think it's worth you spending money on our services, we will say that, because we don't want any money being spent unnecessarily by a filmmaker. But essentially, you send us the film, and one of the team will view it, and they will give feedback, even if we're passing on the film. And then if we are interested in working with you on the film, or at least discussing it more, we arrange a video call, still for free, no obligation. And that's for us to chat a bit more about the film, see where you are, answer any questions you have, but also give insight as to where we think the film should be submitted. And if someone wants to join, brilliant, they join the Festival Formula family.
Well said. Well, Katie, let me wrap this up with one last question, because the last question is always the most important question. How do they contact you?
So if you want to find us on socials, it'll be at Festival Formula for Instagram and for Facebook. We are on Blue Sky, although still in its infancy, but I would recommend anyone checking out Festival Formula on Instagram. It's a really good resource, because we post about the festivals that we get selections in, the festivals we're attending, any films that we take on, and also where we're doing any talks or panels. But yeah, also check out festivalformula.com where you can see a whole slate of films that we help and manage.
Well said. Well, Katie, thank you very much for talking to us about Festival Formula. Your company here, a lot of people want to expand their outreach of their, short films, and the reason why these filmmakers make it is because it has to be seen, and you can actually help them make it seen. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you. Bye now.